Saudi Arabia has officially entered the war. Saudi forces just struck inside the nation of Yemen, targeting a Houthi-controlled airport to prevent an Iranian military plane from landing. Meanwhile, Iran's regular army is evacuating its own headquarters, fearing an inevitable strike from U.S. forces. All as President Trump has just declared himself the guardian of the Strait of Hormuz for the entire world, and that entire world is going to be required to pay up. Gang, this isn't merely an escalation. This is a new war, and we're about to find out why Iran is losing it on every single front. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else, so you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. U.S. Central Command has confirmed that it has launched another massive wave of strikes against Iran, intended to further degrade Iran's ability to attack civilian mariners and commercial ships transiting through the Strait of Hormuz. The latest CENTCOM footage shows naval suicide drones deployed to bomb already destroyed Iranian military dockyards just to complete and totalize the devastation. CENTCOM confirmed hitting approximately 90 Iranian military targets on July 8th alone. We're talking air defense systems, coastal surveillance sites, missile and drone storage, naval infrastructure, and over 60 IRGC small boats turned to scrap metal. Then 80 more targets on July 11th, then 140 more targets yesterday on July 12th. By this morning, the New York Times confirmed the U.S. has struck over 300 Iranian military targets in the span of a single week. Every major Iranian naval base, coastal missile battery, and port facility along the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman has now been hit. And for the first time, the strikes have pushed deep into Iran's interior, not just the coastline, but the heart of the country itself. All hit, all incapacitated or destroyed. And today, Trump did something that changes the strategic picture entirely. He not only announced that the naval blockade against Iran has been fully reinstated, but he declared that the United States is now the official guardian of the Strait of Hormuz.
We're going to keep the strait, and we'll probably run it. We'll become the guardian of the strait. Maybe we'll call it the guardian angel of the strait. And we should be reimbursed for that. When we do that, we're going to be reimbursed because the other nations are very wealthy. They're on our side. And we can't be expected to do that for nothing, unlike we had for many years. You know, we guarded the strait for 50 years more, and we never got paid for it. They made all the money, and the United States was just, they wouldn't. It's amazing. It's we guarded it for nothing. And now we're going to guard it. We're going to get paid for guarding it. A lot of money.
A lot of money indeed. Trump is now saying that he'll be charging a 20% toll on behalf of our efforts to keep the strait open. Now, you don't want to miss the big picture here. With full control of Hormuz, this effectively gives the United States control over 4 of the major geopolitical choke points on the planet. So, of course, Panama, the Panama Canal, that started literally with his first day back in office in January 2025. We resecured control over the Panama Canal. Then the Strait of Gibraltar, which sits at the entrance to the Mediterranean Sea. That's a deal Trump signed with Morocco, which is now part of the Abraham Accords. And then he got the Strait of Malacca that links the Indian Ocean with the South China Sea, and just so happens to be where 80% of China's imports inevitably have to sail through, and now Hormuz. So the United States now has effective control of 4 of the most important maritime choke points on the planet that account for nearly 50% of all the world's trade and oil access. Now, at the same time, there are reports from inside Iran that the Artesh, that's the Iran's regular army, which is distinct from the IRGC, there are reports that the Artesh have been evacuating their headquarters in multiple cities. Now, why these reports are so significant is that the regular Iranian army and the IRGC have been at each other's throats throughout this war. Again, this is part of the wider factions within the regime, which we've talked a lot about. The Iranian government has ceased to function as a single entity. It's broken up into multiple factions. So you got the IRGC, you got the mullahs, you've got elected officials, the parliamentarians, you got the regular army, right, the conscripted army, what's called the Artesh, and the IRGC has always treated the Artesh as a second-tier force. So if the Artesh are indeed abandoning their command centers, it means that these factions are now beginning to implode. It's not just that they've broken up into different factions, but now you've got factions basically abandoning the cause. And what we're going to want to keep an eye on is if they actually begin even turning on the factional regime itself. If the Artesh begin to take up the cause of the people against the regime, I mean, you have a full-blown civil war at that point. And that will most likely be the end of the regime. Again, we'll have to see how this develops. We're also getting reports that IRGC Supreme Commanding General Ahmad Wahidi, who took command after several of his fellow generals were killed at the start of the war, we're now getting reports that he was indeed killed in U.S. airstrikes in Tehran. We're still waiting on confirmation, but it is widely circulating among Iranian dissident media that the commanding general was indeed eliminated. In the meantime, we do have confirmation on a major new front opening up in this war. Not just a new front, a new actor. A major regional power has just joined the war, and it promises to change everything. One of the most important things you can do for your home and your family is be prepared before an emergency ever happens. Because when something goes wrong, when a fire starts, the last thing you want to be doing is scrambling for some complicated solution. In moments like that, you need something simple, fast, practical, and ready to go. And that's exactly what I want to tell you about the Sierra Madre Fire Blanket. Now, what I love about this is just how easy it is to use. You simply pull it out using these straps, and then you unfold it. I'm not going to unfold everything. It's pretty big, but you get it. And then you place it over the flames. And that's it. No complicated instructions, no special training, right? No pressure gauges to check, no chemicals, no maintenance, and no complicated operation. It's lightweight, it's easy to carry, and it's compact enough to keep close by without taking up a bunch of space. And that makes it especially valuable in the kitchen, where so many household fires start. But it's not just for your kitchen. You can keep one in your car, your RV, your camper, your boat, in your emergency kit next to the barbecue. In other words, it's one of those simple tools that gives you real peace of mind wherever life takes you. The Sierra Madre Fire Blanket is made from 100% fiberglass fabric, and it works by cutting off oxygen to the flames. No charging, no batteries, no waiting. It's always ready whenever you need it. So if you're looking for a simple, practical way to add another layer of protection for your home, your vehicle, and the people you love most, check out the Sierra Madre Fire Blanket today. It's a small thing to keep on hand, but in the moment you need it, it can make all the difference. Click the link below to get yours today. Saudi Arabia has officially entered the war. Saudi forces has struck the Sana'a International Airport in Yemen. The stated reason from Yemen's defense ministry was that it was to prevent an Iranian military plane from landing on Houthi-controlled soil. Now, just so that you're clear in the complexities of Yemenis politics here, the Houthis and Yemen's internationally recognized government have been in active civil war since 2014. The Yemeni government is backed by Saudi Arabia, and of course the Houthis have been backed by Iran. The Houthis were one of Iran's most important regional proxies, along with Hamas and Hezbollah. So Saudi Arabia striking the Houthis is very much supported by Yemen's defense ministry. They're on the same side against the Houthis. Now, the Iranian plane that was supposed to land in the Houthi-controlled airport was almost certainly carrying weapons, personnel, or supplies to resupply the Houthis, making it a legitimate military logistics target, since allowing it to land would have directly reinforced the very proxy force that has been firing missiles at Saudi Arabia and oil facilities and their airports for years now. And so now with Saudi Arabia striking inside Yemen to stop this Iranian plane, Saudi Arabia is no longer a bystander. Saudi Arabia has just officially and openly entered the war. And as such, they're now joining Kuwait and Bahrain as part of an Arab Gulf state alliance that's thoroughly on the side of the United States and further isolating Iran. And again, as the geopolitical strategist Zineb Rabua has been arguing for months now, that isolation of Iran, it's hitting them on every single dimension simultaneously. So diplomatically, Iran is friendless. Russia and China issued their strongly worded condemnations against Operation Epic Fury at the beginning. They called for emergency UN Security Council sessions, but then they did nothing, right? But Moscow has no mutual defense clause with Tehran. Beijing, they've got an economic partnership. They actually pumped billions into Iranian economy over the years, but they don't have a military alliance. And they made it clear they're not going to supply arms. In fact, they just want the Strait of Hormuz open. They get so much of their oil from that region. So even Qatar and Pakistan, Iran's last functioning diplomatic channels, they've abandoned Iran, especially after Iran started pelting them with missiles, right? You don't have many friends left when you're firing at your own mediators. Regionally, Iran's entire proxy architecture is collapsing. The Houthis are now being struck by Saudi Arabia. Hezbollah has been relatively decimated. Hamas is finished. Syria fell. So every piece of Iran's regional architecture built over 4 decades and billions of dollars has been dismantled one by one. And then finally, internally, the regime is isolated from its own people. And of course, we're not just talking about the thousands that were massacred during the January popular uprisings. But I mean, you have a supreme leader, can't even show his face. We don't even know if he's alive. You got a foreign minister who's reportedly chased through the streets by his own hardliners. You got an army evacuating its headquarters. This is not a regime under pressure. This is a regime that has run out of directions to turn. The walls are literally closing in from every side. So here's the bottom line. What you're watching is not chaos. What you're watching is a systematic dismantling of the Islamic Republic's power projection capability. One strike package at a time. The ceasefire wasn't a peace deal. It was a reload. And the reload just finished. If today's episode inspired you and helped you see the bigger picture, don't stop here. Click the link below to pre-order my newest book, Civ Cosm. Then join me Friday for the live stream where we'll walk through the extraordinary story unfolding around faith, family, and freedom.